Pakistani police have arrested the ex-husband and father of a British woman suspected to have been a victim of honor killing.
The hidden horror, a sister's murder in the name of honor. Bradford, West Yorkshire, a city known for its rich history, diverse culture, and the warmth of its people. Nestled in the heart of England, Bradford is a place where the past meets the present. Its vibrant streets are alive with the sounds of different languages, the aroma of various cuisines, and the smiles of its residents. The city is a symbol of multicultural harmony, where communities from all over the world have found a home and where traditions blend with modern life. But beneath this harmonious surface, there can sometimes lurk a darkness. A darkness rooted in old customs and rigid traditions. In 2016, this darkness came to light in one of the most tragic and chilling cases the city had ever seen. A case that shocked the world and revealed the brutal reality faced by some women, even in the heart of a modern city like Bradford. The honor killing of Samia Shahid. Samia Shahid was born on November 15, 1987, in Bradford, West Yorkshire, United Kingdom. Bradford is the sixth largest city in England, known for its ethnically diverse population. Many members of the South Asian community have made their home here, including the Shahid family. Samia's parents, Chaudhry Muhammad and Imtiaz, moved to the UK from a small village called Pandori in Pakistan, like many others, seeking better opportunities for themselves and their family. Samia had a sister named Meena. The two girls grew up in Bradford, navigating the blend of British and Pakistani cultures. As second-generation immigrants, they balanced the values and traditions of their Pakistani heritage while adapting to life in the UK. The Shahid family was well known in Bradford, not just for their cultural roots, but also for the businesses they ran. Samia's parents owned a limousine and car rental business, while other relatives were involved in local enterprises, like a fish and chip shop and a flower shop. With 5 brothers, Imtiaz's side of the family was large, giving Samia a wide circle of cousins, nephews, and nieces, all of whom she adored. Samia was a bright, friendly, and lively girl, always full of energy and smiles. She shared a particularly close bond with her father, Chaudhry Muhammad. His word was law to her, and she was always eager to please him. In return, her father doted on her, fulfilling nearly every wish she had. Although Samia and Meena were given the opportunity to receive a Western education, their family remained deeply rooted in Pakistani culture and devout in their Sunni Muslim faith. Even though Samia loved the thrill of driving fast, she wasn't allowed to drive. Still, she would rent a car and drive recklessly, pressing the gas pedal without a second thought. She enjoyed taking care of her appearance, applying makeup, and styling her hair. Samia worked part-time at the Bradford post office, but her father was the one who truly financed her lifestyle, sparing no expense for his beloved daughter. Samia got almost everything she wanted, but what mattered most to her was her family's approval. Her sister Meena had a slightly different outlook on life, but despite their differences, the sisters shared a deep respect for the same core value: family. In Pakistani culture, family comes first, family above all else. And while Samia seemed to get everything she desired, any significant decision in her life had to be approved by her parents and elder family members first. Their acceptance was crucial, and she would do anything to ensure she didn't disappoint them. Samia loved her family deeply and was terrified of disappointing them. She couldn't bring herself to be truly open with them, fearing her father's anger, especially about things like her love for car races. In 2012, when Samia turned 25, her parents decided it was time for her to settle down. The freedoms she enjoyed in Western society had to come to an end, they believed. Her mother insisted she travel to Pakistan to get married in line with their traditions. Arranged marriages were still the norm in their community, and while their Sunni faith didn't strictly require it, it was strongly encouraged. So, it came as no surprise when Samia's parents approached her with a proposal for marriage. She agreed, not out of personal desire, but because she felt it was her duty to her family. More than anything, Samia wanted her family to be proud of her. And so, in February 2012, the decision was made. She would marry a man named Chaudhry Muhammad Shakil. Shakil was far from the man Samia would have chosen for herself. He was from their village, Pandori, in Pakistan, and was also her cousin. Samia had known him all her life and always thought of him as a brother, not as a future husband. To make matters worse, he had just been released from prison for shooting another man in a land dispute. Marriages among distant relatives were common in British Pakistani families, mainly to keep land and wealth within the family. Her parents, who were also cousins, had their marriage arranged and were happy, so they hoped the same for her. To prepare for the wedding, Samia was taken to various shops in Pakistan to buy everything she could want: stunning outfits, fashionable jewelry, and matching accessories. Her father, Chaudhry Muhammad, paid for it all. Samia went along with the preparations, trying to get excited about the upcoming wedding, but deep down, she knew that money couldn't buy happiness. She wasn't truly content with the man her parents had chosen, but at that moment, she felt she had no choice but to accept it. Samia knew her parents wanted the best for her, but she also felt deep inside that marrying Shakil would only lead to unhappiness. Yet, she couldn't bear the thought of upsetting her family, so she put on a brave face and pretended to be happy. In mid-February 2012, as she boarded the plane to Pakistan, she sent a message to a friend, confessing that she was making the biggest mistake of her life and couldn't believe it was happening. Later on, her sister Meena would dispute some of these claims. Meena insisted that Samia had several marriage proposals to choose from and that she had selected Shakil herself. Yes, it was an arranged marriage, but Meena argued it was not forced. She emphasized that there is a significant difference between arranged and forced marriages. However, when Samia first arrived in Pakistan to meet Shakil, she confided in her friends that she could hardly look at him and was relieved she didn't vomit at the sight of her fiancé. The wedding itself was a lavish affair. Many guests traveled from Bradford to Pakistan to congratulate the couple and celebrate the joyous occasion. On February 27, 2012, the festivities began, a 4-day ceremony attended by over 1,000 guests. As a wedding gift, her father gave the newlyweds their own house next to the family home in Pandori. After the wedding, Samia and Shakil moved into the house and began their life together as husband and wife. But Samia struggled to adjust to her new life in the small village. The idea of settling down there after her life in Bradford was unbearable to her. Still, she stayed with Shakil for 4 months before returning to Bradford in June 2012, this time without her husband. Shakil remained in Pakistan, waiting for his immigration documents, while Samia returned to the UK to apply for a spousal visa that would allow him to join her as a British citizen. But she wasn't in any hurry. Their wedding in Pakistan was a nikah ceremony, a formal marriage contract under Muslim customs. According to Sharia principles, this was considered a registered marriage, an agreement made before witnesses and a cleric. However, British law requires additional legal steps to recognize such a marriage, including holding a civil ceremony in the UK and obtaining a marriage certificate. Without these steps, the nikah was not recognized as a legal marriage in another country. Upon returning to the UK, Samia's friends noticed a change in her. She seemed different, distant, more troubled. She began to resent her parents. She became anxious and tense whenever the topic of Shakil came up. Even though they were in different countries, Shakil demanded that she call him every day via Skype and stay in constant contact.
I'd go over to her house and he'd be on Skype to her. I'd be like, doesn't he ever give you a break to be with your friends or your family? And she's like, no.
Samia felt trapped, suffocated by a marriage she no longer wanted. By August, her desperation peaked and she sent a voice message to a friend saying she wanted to die, hated her life, and could no longer bear to be Shakil's wife. On the other hand, her relatives claimed that Samia often boasted about her lavish wedding and seemed happy in her marriage. After all, if she were truly unhappy, why would she have willingly flown back to Pakistan to be with Shakil? These conflicting accounts suggested that the marriage was far from the fairy tale it appeared to be. What went wrong then? Would Samia stay trapped with Shakil forever? Before we reveal the answer, make sure to hit the subscribe button. But then, in 2013, something changed. Samia met a man named Syed Mukhtar Kazim. Kazim was everything Shakil was not: kind, understanding, and loving. He worked in Dubai and had British citizenship, just like Samia. The two quickly fell in love, and for the first time in a long while, Samia felt hopeful about her future. She wanted to be with Kazim, to build a life with him, to escape the suffocating control of her family and her unwanted marriage. However, there was one major obstacle: her marriage to Shakil. Since their marriage had been conducted under Sharia law, Samia needed a religious divorce, or khula, to be free to marry Kazim. But when she approached Shakil for the khula, he refused. He knew that without it, Samia could not remarry according to Islamic law. She was trapped once again, this time by a piece of paper. Determined not to give up, Samia turned to the Islamic Sharia Council in the UK. She swore under oath that her marriage to Shakil had been forced upon her, that she had never given her true consent. Taking her testimony seriously, the cleric handling her case reached out to Shakil, offering him the chance to present his side of the story. But Shakil refused to engage, and in his silence, the cleric found the grounds to annul the marriage. With the khula granted, Samia felt a newfound sense of freedom. She and Kazim secretly married in September 2014 in Leeds. The ceremony was small, attended only by a few close friends. For Samia, it was the happiest day of her life. She felt like a princess, finally free to live the life she had always dreamed of. The couple also registered their marriage at a UK registry office, making it legally binding in the eyes of British law. However, her happiness was short-lived. Not long after, in October 2014, while walking down the street with her cousin, Samia was suddenly attacked in an alley by a group of men. Strangely, only Samia was targeted. They beat her on the legs with metal rods, leaving her battered and bruised. The attack was clearly planned, and it was obvious that Samia had not been chosen at random. The two girls reported the assault to the police right away, showing the deep red and purple bruises that covered Samia's legs. It seemed the secret had gotten out. It was clear that this attack was no random act of violence. It was a message from those who believed she had dishonored her family by marrying Kazim. Samia reported the attack to the police, but instead of finding support at home, she was met with more hostility. Her mother, unaware that the police were listening in, unleashed a torrent of insults at Samia over the phone, blaming her for bringing shame to the family. Despite this, Samia was determined to build a life with Kazim. In May 2015, she received a visa to join him in Dubai, and with the help of her friends, she quietly left the UK. For the first time, Samia defied her family's wishes, choosing her own happiness over their expectations. But her departure was not without consequences. As soon as Samia left for Dubai, her parents reported her as a missing person to the police. They refused to accept that their daughter had chosen her own path, that she had rejected the life they had planned for her. For a while, it seemed like Samia had found peace in Dubai. She was finally living the life she had always wanted, far away from the control of her family. But this peace was short-lived. In June 2016, Samia received devastating news. Shakil's mother, her aunt, had passed away. Samia was deeply saddened. She had loved her aunt dearly and wanted to attend the funeral in Pakistan, but she knew the trip would be fraught with risk and danger, especially since many in the family, particularly Shakil's relatives, believed she had dishonored them and brought shame to their name. Her husband, Syed Mukhtar Kazim, advised against the trip, and Samia reluctantly agreed it was safer to stay in Dubai. Adding to her worries, her father, Chaudhry Muhammad, was also in poor health, suffering from diabetes. Then, one day, Samia received a call from her mother and sister, Meena. They told her that their father's health had taken a serious turn for the worse while he was in Pakistan, and they feared he didn't have much time left. The thought of her father passing away without her being there to say goodbye was unbearable for Samia. After much deliberation, she made the difficult decision to travel to Pakistan. Kazim was deeply upset by her decision but felt powerless to stop her. He knew how much her father meant to her, and he understood that if something happened to Chaudhry Muhammad and she wasn't there, Samia would be filled with regret for the rest of her life. Moreover, Meena had already booked her a plane ticket. Despite his overwhelming fear for her safety, Kazim drove her to the airport. He urged her to reconsider, to stay in Dubai, where she would be safe. But Samia, excited to reunite with her family after so long, reassured him that she would be fine. They said their goodbyes, and on July 14, 2016, Samia boarded the plane to Pakistan. Before her flight, she sent a message to a friend that carried a chilling note of foreboding. "Pray that I return alive." Upon arriving in Pakistan, Samia spent her first night at a friend's house, leaving her documents and return ticket there for safekeeping. Throughout her stay, she kept in constant contact with Kazim, assuring him that she was safe. She spent all her time with her family, including a visit to her aunt's grave with her father on July 18th. On July 19th, Kazim shared with her that he had a bad dream, and she responded by asking him to pray for her safe return to Dubai. She was scheduled to fly home in 2 days. But on July 20th, something went terribly wrong. Samia suddenly stopped responding to Kazim's messages. His texts remained unread, and the silence quickly turned his worry into fear. That evening, a distraught man called the Pandori police station, reporting the death of his daughter. When the police arrived at the scene, they found the lifeless body of a woman at the bottom of the stairs. It was Samia. Her shoes were lying nearby. Her handbag was at her feet, and her face was shrouded in a black scarf. Her eyes were closed, and foam was coming from her mouth. The man who made the call identified himself as Samia's father, Chaudhry Muhammad. He told the officers that his daughter had been living in the house with her husband, Shakil, and pointed to the staircase, claiming she had fallen to her death. When the police asked where Shakil was, Chaudhry Muhammad simply shrugged, saying he didn't know. No one had seen him since Samia's death. A few hours later, Samia's mother and sister arrived in Pakistan, having heard the tragic news. An autopsy was conducted immediately, and Samia's body was then handed over to her family. The Shahid family buried her the same day she died, as the police report noted no injuries or visible signs of violence on her body, and her death was not initially considered suspicious. What followed were conflicting reports about the cause of her death. Some said she had died of a heart attack, others claimed she had committed suicide due to depression. But Kazim, who knew Samia better than anyone, suspected the truth. He believed she had been murdered, killed by her own family in an honor killing because they could not accept her second marriage. He took the first flight to be with his wife. When he realized Samia was truly dead, he went to the Pandori police station and reported that his wife had been killed. Kazim explained how Samia left her first husband, Shakil, and how her family was furious about it. His story clearly changed the police's perspective on Samia's death. They speculated it might have been an honor killing, but could do nothing since the body had been buried. When news of the mysterious death of a young British woman spread in England, representatives of a news channel contacted Samia's father, Muhammad. In an interview, he insisted that his daughter was happy in her marriage and that her husband's name was Shakil. He completely denied the existence of Kazim, calling him a blackmailer. Eventually, Kazim received a copy of Samia's autopsy report. It stated that a reddish-brown bruise was found around her neck, and the cause of death was listed as strangulation. Male semen was also found inside her body. It is suspected that the police were initially bribed to conceal the true cause of Samia Shahid's death. Kazim immediately held a press conference in Pakistan, showing the media photographs of the bruise on his wife's neck. He wanted what happened to Samia to be widely known, so he could find out how she died and who was responsible. Following this, Kazim required 24-hour police protection as he began receiving numerous death threats. Samia's friends in the UK were also proactive. They contacted a member of parliament from Bradford, Naz Shah, through their acquaintances. The MP wrote directly to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, informing him of Samia's death and daring to call it an honor killing. Only then did Pakistani police begin a thorough investigation into Samia Shahid's death. 8 days after Shakil fled, he was found and brought in for questioning, along with Samia's father, Chaudhry Muhammad. Shakil confessed that he wanted to force his wife to annul her marriage to Kazim and stay with him in Pakistan. He was angry that she left him and prevented him from moving to the UK. On the morning of July 20th, he searched Samia's belongings for her passport and return ticket, but found nothing. Shakil tried to stop her from returning, but Samia refused. Enraged, he pushed her onto the bed and raped her. His semen was found inside her body. When Samia tried to escape from her first husband, she ran into her father, who nodded to Shakil in approval, while Shakil strangled her. Muhammad held his daughter's legs, then Shakil fled, and her father tried to cover up the crime as an accident. However, justice was difficult to be served. The problem was the lack of evidence. Although Samia's death was ruled a homicide, it was impossible to prove who killed her. In September 2018, after 2 years in custody, Shakil was released on bail. Despite his police confession, it was insufficient for conviction in Pakistan. In 2019, he remarried a British Pakistani woman and applied for a spousal visa to enter the UK, as this was his ultimate goal. However, MP Naz Shah ensured his visa application was denied. After 4 months in prison, Chaudhry Muhammad Shahid, Samia's father, appealed to the Supreme Court and was released due to insufficient evidence. The court found the evidence inadequate to hold him in custody. In January 2018, he was hospitalized for kidney failure and died in a Lahore hospital at 52. As we close this chapter on the tragic story of Samia Shahid, we're left with haunting questions. How many more lives will be lost to the rigid chains of honor? How many more voices will be silenced by the very families meant to protect them? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep this conversation going, because together we can shine a light on the darkness and fight for a future where honor doesn't come at the cost of life.